Hello, 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 and welcome back to another edition of Fan Talk, your favorite podcast by your favorite fan. That is, of course, me, Kyle Brenchley, on this Wednesday, November 20th. We are losing daylight fast. Holy cow, the sun goes down so quick here in November, right before the winter solstice. So we'll make this very quick. Luckily, today we're doing another unique episode. We've kind of been doing that recently the last couple of weeks. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning long-time Fan Talk person, then welcome as well. Fan Talk's a podcast by me, of course, Kyle Brenchley. You can find it anywhere you get your podcasts. I upload on YouTube. For the video version, forgive me for this video kind of be a little dark because I like to use natural light as opposed to fabricated light. So it might be dark by the end of this episode, but this week's episode is slightly quicker. All right, Rogue One, candle, you know the drill over there. But here we go. We are doing a very special episode today. Again, we're forsaking the Fan Talk Fast Talk. We're forsaking kind of the normal format. Again, it's been a couple weeks since we've done that. We're just changing things up. November is a month of change. We are going to be talking about how to make NFL picks. And if you're new here, if you don't know, if you've been around and you still don't know, for some reason, and perhaps the reason will be revealed today, I am quite good at picking the winner of NFL games, just straight up. We're not picking the spread. We're not picking the over-under. Just pick up the straight winner. I'm in this ESPN football pick'em group, and I've told you about this, the Fan Talk fun group. You can still join, even though we're like 12 weeks into the season. But I've done very, very well in that. And let me just show you kind of my entry here. I don't know if I really have a secret, but here I am. So this is my entry. I've picked 122 correct, 44 wrong. I'm ranked 33rd in the world as of right now. At one point on Sunday, here, week 11, I went 12-2. I was 11-0, and I was ranked 18th in the entire world. What that means, it's not all 7 billion people in the world playing this game, but anyone who has signed up for this game, and it's in the hundreds of thousands, is from what I understand. In the world, I was ranked 18th out of all those people. So here's the leaderboard here. Again, standards, you just pick up the straight up winner. You can see my entry. You can see the top person is really only 4 picks ahead of me. If you scroll down, then there I am, there on the leaderboard. Only 32 other people in the entire world, there they are, who are doing better than me at this moment. So I was thinking this episode I could share maybe my approach to doing this, how I approach it every week, and how I make these picks. I make these picks on Wednesday so I can get the Thursday night game in. And obviously a lot can happen from Wednesday night, Wednesday when I do these episodes, to Sunday when the games are actually played. So, injuries can happen, things can think. And I rarely ever change the pick. I think the only time I'll ever change the pick is if the quarterback is really, really questionable on Wednesday, and then, can't go on Sunday, or vice versa, is like totally healthy and then all of a sudden just can't go. You know what I mean? But other than that, I don't change my pick. I make the pick on Wednesday. I stick to it, and that is what I do. So, let's start off first and foremost, kind of some of the things I do is on YouTube. Actually, the NFL channel has a little game preview section of videos that they do each week. So you can go through and you can watch the game preview for every game. And essentially what that does, it just breaks down kind of what the teams are good at, what they struggle at, what to watch for. So for example, the first game that we're looking at here will be the Cleveland Browns hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you'd go watch the video and they'd say Pittsburgh's coming off a big win against the Baltimore Ravens, to which their defense held Lamar Jackson to 16 points, forced a couple turnovers, got a couple sacks. And then it'll be like the Browns lost to the Saints, allowed 34 points, allowed a ton of rushing yards to Taysom Hill. So they might do that with Derrick Henry. You see what I mean? So they kind of just lay things out very simple for you. The videos are usually only 4, 5, 6 minutes. So first thing I do is go through and just watch those. I watch pretty much every single one of those. This week, there are some like I didn't bother Like Chiefs and Panthers, I didn't bother looking at that one. Same with Texans and Titans. There's just some where it's like I'm pretty confident in my pick already, and barring an upset, I know exactly what I'm going to go with. So that's the very first thing I do. The second thing I do is technically the very first thing I do. I watch every single game every single week. So I don't watch every single moment of every single game. I watch NFL Red Zone, which flips between, every single game whenever there's a big play, whenever they're in the red zone, whenever they're about to score, and then I watch the highlights after the games are over. So I essentially watch every team. I know exactly what every team's, up to. I know who they've beaten. I know who they've lost to. And so I keep track that way. So I have a very extensive knowledge. I know exactly what's going on with every team. I know where they are. I can, look at their record, obviously, and be like, oh, they're 2-8. But I can really be like, okay, who have they beaten? Who have they won? Why are they 2-8? Are they really a 2-8 team, or should they be more like a 5-5 team and I've just been unlucky? So that's technically the very first thing I do. And then I watch the weekly videos. And then third, I just go on here and I'm sort of swayed, kind of, by, as you can see here, you can see what percentage of viewers or of, people playing this game have picked each team. So, I mean, that I'm barely swayed by that, but you take that in consideration. You take what time the game's being played. This is a Thursday night game. Steelers and Browns both on a short week. So Steelers coming off a big win. Perhaps, maybe they continue to ride that high, or maybe they don't have enough rest from a tough matchup against the Ravens they had earlier in the week. So, I mean, you consider the time and the place and the opponent. And if you're really superstitious, if the game's on Fox or if it's on CBS, who's calling the game, you look at the history. Like, for example, last week, a lot of people picked the Ravens, but I picked the Steelers over the Ravens because the Steelers had beaten Lamar and the Ravens the last 4 or 5 straight times. So there's this history that you look at, and just different things that you can consider, different things that they might not cover in the review videos or the preview videos, some things that they, you just might not see on the field, different things like that. Do coaches have certain success over other coaches? For example, Sean Payton, coach of the Denver Broncos, former coach of the New Orleans Saints, just swept his NFC South former division because, I mean, he had spent so many years there kind of knowing those offenses. Of course, coaches had changed over the years, so it's not like he knew all those teams perfectly. But, I mean, he definitely had a lot of experience in those styles of offenses and defenses and those teams, the way those teams are coached in the NFC South. So there's just different things you consider like that. So, and then finally, the last one, well, I guess there's 2 more, but you can kind of group it together. Common sense, and that just really comes with watching a lot of football and knowing the NFL and knowing the league and knowing kind of trends and things like that. So that kind of plays. And then last, luck. Anytime, and this is definitely not gambling, there's no money involved. This is just really a guessing game at its very simplest form. Luck is involved in any sort of game, in any sort of contest where it involves a choice. Week 11, perhaps I got a little lucky. I did pick, as you can see here, I did pick a couple of the favorites. So, I mean, in the NFL, there tends to be, it's a little more chalk, So, I mean, you pick the favorites and that kind of works out for you. And then if you can nail an upset pick. So I always do an upset pick of the week. I really look into things and I'm like, if I can nail an upset pick where most people are picking the other team and I get it right, then I can jump up the leaderboards. So that really helped me this week with a Pittsburgh Steeler pick, as well as an Indianapolis Colt pick, even a Denver Bronco pick. That really helps me. And so it just really depends on kind of what the week presents and what you're feeling. And honestly, an honest combination of all those things I mentioned. I watch the games, I know the teams, I watch those little game preview videos to get a good background. I look at history, I look at other factors, I use common sense, and honestly, there's just an element of luck in it. So with that in mind, let's go through and make some picks for Week 12 in the NFL. Thursday Night Football, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Cleveland Browns. Of course, I kind of used this as an example earlier. The Pittsburgh Steelers coming off a huge win against division rival Baltimore Ravens. That was a very fun game to watch. It's incredible that the Steelers won that game without scoring a single touchdown. That is right, 6 field goals for Chris Boswell. He put up 24 points in fantasy football and single-handedly won my father a matchup. Chris Boswell, take a bow. They're facing a Cleveland Browns team that a couple weeks ago, kind of had some hope and some faith, with Jameis Winston taking over for injured Deshaun Watson. But really, this team is not really scary or a contender or anything near there. So even though this game is at home and it's a short week and the Steelers could be tired, the Steelers are for real. And Mike Tomlin's bringing it. Give me the Steelers. Vikings at Bears. The Bears are falling apart. It is time that they hibernate for the winter and get ready for next season and make sure Caleb Williams is not unsatisfied and does not leave in a fit of rage, because he's their pick. He's their guy. They got to build an offense around him. They got to make sure he's protected by the offensive line, and their defense has got to step up. So I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one, simply because the Bears are really bad right now. The Colts, very good win. Anthony Richardson played very well against the Jets. Take that for what you will. They're hosting the Detroit Lions, who are probably the hottest team in the NFL right now, 9-1 and scoring 50+ in 3 games this season. Has anyone done that? No, but the Lions have. So give me the Lions in this one. Could be a fun matchup, but I think the Lions, maybe they keep it close at the beginning, but pull away late. Patriots at Dolphins. I'm going to go with the Dolphins in this one. The Dolphins are kind of surging right now. Patriots put up a good fight against the Rams, but just, honestly, a young Drake May and a young team, you're going to lose a couple games where, maybe if you had a veteran quarterback or a better team that you would win. So give me the Dolphins. Buccaneers and Giants. I'm going with the Buccaneers in this one. This might be the easiest pick of the week. The Giants are in shambles. It is time for Tommy DeVito, one of the consiglieres for Don Corleone. Daniel Jones might have just played his last game in the Meadowlands in New York for the Giants, so it's Tommy DeVito time. If he struggles, we might even see former Seahawks and Broncos quarterback Drew Lock. Who knows, but we're going with the Buccaneers in that one. Great game for Baker Mayfield and the Bucs to get back on track. Another team that's in shambles, the Dallas Cowboys. They kind of sort of hung in there with the Texans for a little bit, but Jerry Jones, no more excuses. The roof's falling literally at AT&T Stadium. Things are falling apart. Give me the Commanders in this one. Chiefs at Panthers. Chiefs being handed their first loss of the season. Really potentially could have lost a couple more games this year. I am still calling them out as frauds, but it's against the Panthers. Great game for them to bounce back. Chiefs over Panthers. Titans, Texans. Getting the Texans in this one. The Titans are probably the worst team in the league. The Jags are the worst team in the league. Titans not too far behind. Will Levis still just quite hasn't figured it out. He's still more focused on his mayonnaise commercials than being a quarterback. Their defense is pretty stout, though. If you would go look up stats, you could see that their pass defense is top 5, top 3 in the NFL right now, but they still find ways to lose. That's just a bad recipe there. So give me the Texans. Broncos at Raiders. Broncos coming off a huge win against the Falcons. They absolutely slaughtered the Birds pre-Thanksgiving, 38-6. Bo Nix is playing great right now. The offense is playing phenomenal. The defense is hard to score against. I love the Broncos in this one. One little factoid, if we're going back to my 5 things that I kind of consider. Number 3, there's some things you have to look into. The Denver Broncos have never won in Las Vegas. The last time they beat the Raiders on the road, the Las Vegas Raiders were the Oakland Raiders, and it was the 2015 season. That was the season they went on to win the Super Bowl, of course. So, that's a little something you can take into effect. You can be like, oh, the Broncos are clearly the better team, but it's in Las Vegas. So can they get over this little hump they have, not being able to beat the Raiders on the road? I think they will. They did beat Las Vegas earlier this year, which they hadn't done since 2019. Give me the Broncos to win in Las Vegas for the first time ever. This should be a fun matchup here in the afternoon slate. The 49ers against the Green Bay Packers. Packers barely getting by against the Bears with a little blocked field goal, a little help from above. 49ers, terrible game. The 49ers are an interesting team They are not looking good this year. They're not up to par. I think some Super Bowl fatigue maybe has gotten into them. Look for them to continue to maybe slide a little bit, especially in Lambeau against a good Packers team. I'm going to go with the Packers in this one, but don't be surprised. The 49ers have the potential to be good. They're kind of a hard team to pick this year, in my opinion. Cardinals and Seahawks. Ooh, great matchup. The Seahawks, that huge win against the 49ers really got them back into the mix. Before that, they were on a 4-game losing streak and kind of falling out of the NFC West. The Cardinals lead atop the division 6-4, but a win by Seattle could put them back on top. I'm going to go with the Cardinals in this one. I think the Cardinals offense is playing very well, 28 points in 3 straight games, and Geno Smith will throw an interception or two as he always does. Could hurt them in the end. Go Cardinals, go. Eagles at Rams. Ooh, I like the Eagles in this one. It should be a very fun game. It's Sunday night back at SoFi Stadium. Beautiful stadium. So fun that the Chargers were able to play there on Sunday Night Football last week against the Bengals. I like the Eagles in this one. The Eagles are surging at just the right time. They're flying high. Kelly Green all the way. Kelly Stafford, her husband, playing pretty well as well. But, could face a stout competition against the Dirty Birds. Not the Dirty Birds, the Green Birds of Philadelphia. All right, Monday Night Football. This might very well be the game of the week. The Baltimore Ravens against the Chargers. I almost called them San Diego Chargers. They haven't been the San Diego Chargers for a couple years now. Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert is the man. Any doubters out there? He's kind of flown under the radar this year. The whole team has. They're 7-3. They're probably one of the most underrated teams. But after being on Sunday Night Football and taking out Joe Burrow and the Bengals, there is no doubt in my mind that the Chargers are legit. And I don't want to say they're legit contenders because they always choke. And in the playoffs, I bet they will. But they're definitely a playoff lock team. I'm going to take the Chargers as my upset pick of the week. I'm going to roll the dice. As you can see here, 76% of you are going with the Ravens. I'm going with the Chargers. Although I don't know if the Ravens are a team that will lose twice in a row very often. But I like the Chargers in this one. The Chargers have a great offense. Their defense has much improved. And as long as you can contain Lamar Jackson, and the Steelers did just that, you're not going to stop him. But if you can contain him, then you can win that football game because the Ravens defense, while stout against the run, has so many holes in the secondary that Justin Herbert's going to be cooking a whole Thanksgiving meal 1 week before Thanksgiving. All right, guys, those were my picks for week 12. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to go a little quick because I'm losing daylight. But again, those are kind of my tips and tricks for how to pick straight up NFL games. It doesn't quite work for college or NBA or other sports. You kind of have to approach each one differently. But let me know if you guys like this episode. Again, a little different. I've been doing things differently the last couple of weeks. So let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what your picks are down below as well. If you want to join the group, it is the Fan Talk Fun group. I'll link it down below. Thank you guys so much for watching and enjoy another great week of football. Next week, perhaps we'll get to, we'll talk Thanksgiving. We'll talk maybe the history of Thanksgiving football. We'll get all to that next week. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll guys catch you next week for another edition of Fan Talk.